So try to save your ears. So I always use this. I always cover my eyes because this slings a lot of dust. You never know. And I always cover my face because it's my face. All right, this is the PTO. We engage it, disengage it. It's disengaged right now, so it shouldn't turn anything. We're just trying to crank the motor. Everything's hooked up. I like to give it a little bit of gas, and then we'll start it. I got a button back here that kind of chokes it, so let's see what it's going to do. So this is the L of the carriage. We're gonna roll the log up there, get it in there nice and tight, and then we'll set the dog to an appropriate distance off of it so it don't run into a saw, but that can hold about midway of the log and keep it nice and tight. And once we get the log up there, which I'll show you, get it right where we want it, and then we'll set the log out, and then we'll set it into there and back it on down. Using that spent motor oil, that Detroit diesel, it spits a lot of it out, so we reuse it to lube up these L's, make it a little easier on that cold steel for those dogs to slide up and down. We pull this out and work it a little bit. Then it's nice and smooth. Like I said, it ain't that hard now, but if you turn that big log, you get a little weak. This is the set works. It's got a two-way function. When you spin it this way, these pinions, racks and pinions, works to bring the carriage towards us, and it does it. You can hear the click. It does it in little increments, and you can set it to bring it to a precise location with one pull. Right now I got it set to bring it up an inch. It's pretty cool. The men who designed this, or women, I'm not sure, but each one of these dots represent a set distance on here. Just working it out, I've got it set to where one full pull brings it forward an inch. There's this ruler, so you can see it's set for one pull equals about an inch. So you can see it goes from 10 to 9 there, and then it'll bring it forward each time we get that log set up there. Each time we cut a board through, we can pull it one more pull, and it'll bring it forward another inch, and then we'll cut off another inch board. Well, I say inch, when you count for the thickness of the blade, it ends up being a nice 3/4 board, which is what we use a lot around here. So you can see that's when we pull it forward. Other function of this, so that's flipping it to the left. You flip it to the right, it's got a lever where you flip it this way, it turns the other way, and through some pushes and pulls, it pulls that side up and this side down, and then it turns the whole system the opposite way. So just pulling in, then we can move the L's backwards on the carriage so that we can get ready to put another log up there. So that's typically how we start. We pull it, you know, halfway or more back so that the log can get real comfortable, depending on how big the log is. So we got a decent sized log coming up, so we'll leave it right along in there somewhere, and make sure all the dogs are up so they can get ready to catch this log. I did the system, this is called the log deck. You gotta have a way to transfer them from the log deck to the carriage, so this is just something I come up with. So we'll see if we can get this to work. Also, always keep some burnt motor oil around. Works beautiful. If you're gonna have anything steel around your homestead, keep some burnt motor oil. And then always keep some Coca-Cola. It works for everything. It does a wonder on your teeth. Alright, so the next part is just transitioning the log from the deck to the carriage. This works really well when you got a nice, smooth, straight log, but when you do your own lumberjacking, you take what you can get from where you can get it. This one's really knotty, it's got a bend in it, so we'll see what it'll do. Tools of the trade, this is a cant hook. Probably works best if you get in the middle of the log, catch a hook in it, and then you can use the leverage like this. Sometimes it gets really out of hand, so don't stand in front of it. Woo, we're about to have a disaster thing here. Now if I get some lettuce in it. I really want to get it all nice and smooth, but it always don't work like that. Woo. This is nice, smooth, straight, perfect logs are nice and straight and smooth and perfect. But this is the real world. We ain't running a big, smooth operation. We're just using what we got to make lumber. So next you want to kind of set it where it's all touching. I like to where it's all touching the carriage, at least on that first cut, so it ain't moving around a whole bunch, because we want to get a nice straight cut to start off with. Oh. Whew, this is a bad one. We're really gonna make this work. We'll see if we can find a good spot for it to see it. It's still ain't too nice. At some point, you just got to settle with it. No, there goes Lord's with you. I know what you're thinking. Why didn't they just cut it off 8 or 10 foot? You're right. We should have. I don't know if we're going to find a straight cut in it. Like I said, at some point, you just got to settle. And I don't know where that's going to be. Sometimes you feel stupid because you spin it one full revolution and you realize you're back where you started. But that's a lie. Just keep working. I think that might be where we end up. You get this first cut. We got this model freak. Has some pretty cool things where you can taper out the cut. Oh, see, this is the other problem. This is why you want to make sure you cut your knots off, because this will run into your nut on your saw blade, which can really cause mishap. So we can't leave it there. Ideally, those will be cut off before they got here. But this is sitting kind of nice. You want the bow to be out, so you can cut that out first. Then you can get to the center of the log. Oh, there's gonna hurt us stuff, because it would sit right nice and good in the cut. This is sitting pretty stable now. Might go get the saw and clean that up. I tell you, them steels run so good you can't hardly cut them off, son. All right, so then once you get it on the deck like you want it, this is where the dogs come in handy. Like I was telling you, you get it out to maybe halfway or a little less than halfway, or to get a good grab on it, because you want it to push straight down through the center of the log and not to the side, because then it'll cause it want to spin and it hits the saw, it goes all crazy, and then it'll puts it bad in the cut, and then the saw blade will heat up, and then you ruin it. So you want the log to sit good. Like I said, you pick it up, pull it out, slam it down, and then you can bite it in there. All right, so here's the point where we can use the taper. You can see how the log's got a bow in it. So we're gonna try to saw the bow out. You can just bite it down with nothing to press it there, but I got these tapers mechanisms anyway, so I'd like to try to bump it against something so that just more support. And you can see here I can't get it out because I don't have enough, but anything is better than nothing. And now we'll get the engine ready to crank it up, do a little bit more oiling, and then we'll try to do some sawing. That's gonna be a mess there, ain't it? Before I set those down, I probably should push this out a little more so we get the most that we can get up the center there. I don't think it matters too much because that log's so bowed, we're not gonna get that much. Trying to make a living. This is a valuable tip if you're running diesel engines. Every time you use them, if you're using old junk like us, always put diesel fuel in it. Never trust the gauge. Put as much diesel fuel as you think you're going to use. You don't want to run out. I like to always add 5 gallons because I really don't want to have to bleed the lines and go through all that if you run out. Just go ahead and add some. Also, if you can't get air, one thing I learned, flip the bucket over and it pours a lot easier. Seems really counterintuitive. But once it gets down low enough, then you can flip it back the other way. This way it pours a lot easier. Bet you didn't know that. Or maybe you did. Maybe you're so cool you got a fuel transfer pump in the back of your truck. We use old hydraulic oil buckets. Just out here trying to make it happen. Alright. Next thing, the oil. So this is the General Motors Detroit Diesel 471. I think that means it's got 4 cylinders, and 71 is the volume of them. I'm not sure of the units. I'm not a diesel mechanic. But this thing drinks oil. Apparently, back in the day, that was what they're known for, is drinking a lot of oil and spitting it out all over the ground, and that's probably why the EPA shut them down. But we collect all the oil and reuse it, repurpose it, recycle. See? That's where it always sits. You can add all you want, but it's going to get back down to there. So we'll add some. Always just add a little oil. If your diesel engine doesn't like to crank, particularly in the cooler weather when the oil gets a little thicker, check your battery. If you got a weak battery, it ain't going to crank. My whole life we had batteries that were too weak to run diesel engines. Just buy a bigger battery. Buy the biggest battery you can get. That's what I would tell you. Because if the engine ain't running fast enough, it ain't never going to crank. Alright, probably didn't have enough time to get down there, but it was at low points, so it should be right. And make sure your cables are tight. Obviously, I don't do that. I'm just putting them on there by hand, and I find a good point for them. Alright, before we crank up, let's oil our blade a little bit. Also, I always like to check the setting of the blades. So ideally, you want it to be in between these. It's maple wood. I can't remember what they're called. They're like not tensioners or whatnot, but they make sure the blade doesn't have too much play, and you can see it's just barely moving. You want them to where that it's just barely touching them, and that it's in a good spot. But I always like to add a little oil to them just to keep them happy. And then I always throw some oil on my blade just to kind of keep it nice and slick. And you don't have to do anything too fancy. I just throw it across there, and then by the time it gets up to speed, it'll disperse the oil pretty good. Nothing too fancy. It's got a bunch of grease points, but I don't overdo that. I grease it every so often, because if you grease it every time, you'd really run through some grease. It'll waste it. All right, and other than that, I just check, make sure there's no major obstructions into my blade. There's not. Make sure all my belts are on. Just kind of get a good overlook on everything. Make sure all your pins are in your pulleys. Make sure your pulleys are on straight, and your tension's all good. And let's see if this thing's gonna run. Oh yeah, that's a good sign. Let's try it again. One more. We almost got it. It's kind of chilly out.